What's up, everybody? We're going to start Season 2 of Collateral Gaming with a podcast shout-out. This episode's podcast shout-out is Nerds Amalgamated. Now, this is a podcast I've been meaning to shout out for actually a long time. It just ended up being other podcasts that I wanted on specific episodes, and now we're finally here. These guys are from Australia, and if there's anything I love almost as much as a British accent, it's an Australian accent. So believe me, I could listen to these guys all day. Nerds Amalgamated covers a wide range of nerdy topics. They've got practically anything you're interested in if you're a nerd like us. Games, movies, comics, even science and technology. They cover a wide variety of nudes in those areas, and there's always something you'll be interested in every episode. The hosts, DJ, Buck, and the professor have good personalities and good chemistry. I found myself enjoying listening to them go over various topics. They stay on topic, and they're entertaining as well. So you can go follow Nerds Amalgamated on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, and other platforms as well. That being said, on with the show. I'm Ashley Chancellor.
I'm Dakota Chancellor.
This is Collateral Gaming. Welcome to Collateral Gaming, the only video game podcast that matters, where we focus on good games, bad games, and everything else in between in the world of gaming. We are podcasting straight from San Antonio, Texas, and yes, my friends, we are a 420-friendly podcast, so whatever you have, be it bongs, be it dabs, be it blunts, joints, edibles, etc., smoke it if you've got it, or, I mean, edibles I guess you would eat. Also, don't smoke meth. That's pretty bad.
I would say so.
Stay away from it, kids.
So, Collateral Gaming Season 2. I am so excited to be back. We're here in Section 9 Studios, which has been moved to, and you heard it right, San Antonio, Texas, at my house that my wife and I just bought. We are setting up the studio to be something professional that we're going to be able to rent out to local podcasters. That's going to be exciting, right, Dakota?
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. A lot of good people coming in and out of here.
So, I mean, since we've already been through one season of Collateral Gaming, I feel like it's not necessary to really introduce ourselves anymore. People know who we are.
Right.
We may add on some co-hosts. We want to. We want to have some guest hosts as well. What are you looking forward to most with Collateral Gaming Season 2?
There's nothing really like a game I'm looking forward to. I'm just looking to see how we're going to progress this season with, views, downloads, things like that, our presence on social media.
That's what I'm talking about, yeah. I mean, I'm
That's
excited.
what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, for sure. That's what I'm most excited about. More so than any of the games we're going to talk about. I'm excited about to see where this podcast goes, to try out some new games we've never played before, and to boldly go where no podcast has gone before.
Nice. Yes.
To grow
Straight out of the
along with
mouth
our
of James T. Kirk.
We should do a Star Trek game sometime. I want to do a Doctor Who game. That's on my to-do list. Anyway, another segment we like to have at the beginning of every Collateral Gaming episode is Collateral Gaming News. So, what's going on in the world of gaming? Well, Dakota and I are both gonna... This is how we're gonna run it now. Dakota and I are both gonna bring in something gaming related in terms of news, and we're both gonna come together and see what we have. So, PlayStation 5 was announced. Confirmed specs. It's gonna have an 8-core AMD chipset based on 3rd generation Ryzen architecture. GPU taking the best bits of the Radeon Navi GPU family. It's going to have SSD storage system, not unlike the MacBook that we're running on, this podcast on, using Logic. 3D audio, backwards compatibility with PS4 games, which, by the way, is in a poll what people were most excited about, which is odd because if that's the feature you're most excited about, why not just keep a PS4? right?
Interesting.
Are they also going to do PS3 games or?
Not as far as I know, because PS4 wasn't compatible with PS3 games. However, PlayStation does have a streaming service where you can play PS3 games.
Oh,
that's
right.
their answer.
Yeah.
So they already do that.
I played on that before.
Ray tracing is going to be brought to it. Also, 4K gaming, which was, I believe, a feature with the PS4 Pro. But yeah, PS5 is coming out. There's no designs out yet, as far as I know. Nothing confirmed. What about you, Dakota? What news do you have?
Well, I know that Fortnite recently had a lot going on with it. I kind of stopped playing Fortnite because I've been getting more into Apex. Yeah, I know, I did that too. But anyway, Fortnite, you mentioned it to me first before I even played it.
Yeah.
And there's like this black hole going on where nobody could log into the game. People got kicked and shit. And apparently you log in, you load in, and you like start in a new world, and it's a whole new Fortnite world. So
Yeah.
they
have a
made
new
like
game
people
out.
think though that it was like gonna go down or something, right? Isn't that what you said?
Yeah, I mean, people were legitimately convinced that the game was over. I mean, I was
That's
seeing it on
ridiculous.
Facebook and everything, which of course it was a fake out. It was an obvious fake out, but it was really interesting, yeah. And apparently everybody who was in game witnessed that event, and even people who were in the lobby were kicked out. And for a long time, all they saw was that black black hole. So that's really interesting. Fortnite is kind of diminishing to the background, but maybe they'll manage to keep themselves relevant with that new update, the new game map. That's pretty exciting. I think that pretty much concludes Collateral Gaming news for now.
Honestly,
There may
yeah.
have been some other topics, but I can't think of anything.
I mean, I could always talk about Death Stranding. I mean,
Death
I could always
Stranding.
bring that because that's coming next month now. So
Yeah. Oh, I'll tell you what. Another piece of news. They dropped a trailer for The Last of Us Part 2.
you are right.
Woo.
That's really exciting. I'm really happy about that. The trailer looks brutal, and it looks to expand upon everything that was great about the first game, which you can hear in our episode on The Last of Us. So, what game are we talking about today, Dakota?
Uncharted, the Nathan Drake collection, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
to be specific. So this is the first 3 PS3 games remastered and collected onto one disc
For the PS4.
For the PS4. So now Uncharted is also developed by Naughty Dog, like our previous episode, The Last of Us, which I just mentioned,
Right.
and exclusively on Sony hardware. So you won't see it anywhere else except for PlayStation.
That's the way it's meant to be. I'm
Um,
sorry, did I say that out loud?
So the Uncharted series, we're going to get to kind of talk about as a whole because we're going to talk about 3 different games. Uncharted, Drake's Fortune, Uncharted 2, Among Thieves, and Uncharted 3, Drake's Deception, which are on the Nathan Drake collection. We'll even mention some of the games that have come since, like Uncharted 4 and The Lost Legacy, but mainly going to focus on those 3. And but we're going to focus them not only as a whole, but individually. One thing that I do want to go over, of course, is the development and production. That's a important segment. And so, like I said before, it was developed by Naughty Dog, also responsible for Crash Bandicoot and The Last of Us. What else?
I'm not sure.
Naughty Dog. We know it. Dakota, you're supposed
Tomb
to do
Raider?
your research.
Is it Tomb Raider?
Tomb Raider, no. No, they don't do Tomb Raider. Uh-oh. I need to make sure I turn my... all
Yeah,
of
you
my-
did say Crash Bandicoot, right?
I did say Crash Bandicoot.
I love Crash Bandicoot, man.
That was the shit, dude. There's actually
Yeah.
a moment in Uncharted 4, which we should keep this down a little bit, but you play in a scene and you play a simulated version of the original Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah, I've seen that before. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what else they produced was Jack and Daxter. That's also a
Oh.
phenomenal
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that.
PlayStation-only series.
Yeah, I love Jack and Daxter.
They also developed some other titles like Dream Zone, Keith the Thief, Rings of Power, and Way of the Warrior. We may have mentioned some of this when we discussed The Last of Us before, but yeah, they're a prominent Sony subsidiary. And on that note, this game is also produced by Sony Interactive Entertainment, which should be no surprise. So not much to say about that. It's just basically the Sony games that are usually exclusive to PlayStation.
That was a nice lift back there. But you got a lot to learn.
Crap!
You stick with me and I'll teach you a few things.
No offense, but I don't even know you.
My friends call me Sully.
Nathan Drake.
Mr. Sullivan. And Mr. Drake.
Will you tell me what's so special about that ring?
It belongs in my family.
Inscribed with Sir Francis Drake's motto.
Greatness from small beginnings.
Just what is it you're after?
That's just a little historical research.
Don't tell me you're buying into all that supernatural nonsense.
You love all this as much as I do.
No.
Nate, these guys are playing for keeps.
Yeah, so?
He would go to the ends of the earth for you, Nate.
Now what do? We jump?
Just don't ask him to.
Shall we?
You get off on all this. Cheating death.
But that's not how it will end. This is how it will end.
Sorry. Sully! We don't get to choose how we start in this life.
Had to try.
Real greatness. It's what you do with the hand you dealt.
You're a crook, right? What do you want from me?
I see great things in our future, kid. Great things.
So anyway, onward. Uncharted Drake's Fortune. Dakota, tell me a little bit about the gameplay. Since this was the first Uncharted game, what set this apart from other action-adventure games?
It was revolutionary of sorts. It was one of the first scripted games that I had played that didn't feel scripted. It was one of the games where there's not very much to do, not very much, but there's a lot of action. A lot of action. You're always killing people, shooting people. I'm not even kidding.
Yeah.
And they go hard in the first one. The second one and the third one, they do a little less. There's a lot more, puzzle sequences. But the first game gives you that feel, like that Tomb Raider feel, you do puzzles and then you shoot a bunch of people and everything fails and somehow you manage to get away safely.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Uncharted definitely harkens back to Tomb Raider quite a bit. And the new Tomb Raiders kind of harken back to Uncharted now. Nathan Drake is definitely kind of the male version of Lara Croft in many ways.
For sure.
And Uncharted, as far as gameplay goes, is, like I said, it's an action-adventure type game. It's a shooter, third-person shooter. There's going to be a lot of shooting, but there's also a lot of puzzle solving and platforming. And one thing that sets it apart is that Uncharted was one of the first games to really be realistically animated.
Right. Well, it was believable. It's like a movie. You're watching it. Even the first one. I mean, you're watching it, and the first scene of it, it's like you're being attacked on a boat, and it's like you're watching a movie, the beginning of a movie.
Yeah. Uncharted, once again, is one of those games that like the last few ones we've talked about, like The Last of Us, Spider-Man, that has kind of that cinematic quality to it. And really, this one, even more so in the sense that it really feels like an action movie, both in terms of gameplay and story, which we'll have plenty of time to talk about. But the game really does feel, and even makes kind of some of the same fallacies that movie logic,
We got to remember, the first one was in 2007, right?
2007, yeah.
And so looking at the difference between that and, for instance, The Last of Us, it was also, we described it as, cinematically portrayed,
Yeah.
And Uncharted would have been one of the first games that really did that right, and set it apart. Last of Us kind of, it's an upgraded version, it's a nicer version, it's beautiful, but Uncharted really set the standard for that.
And going forward, with Uncharted 4, post-dating, The Last of Us, it even manages to have, its own qualities that are separate. I mean, both games developed by Naughty Dog are very linear and also have that cinematic quality. Whereas The Last of Us really feels like an excellently directed, like an excellently written story, something that's like high quality. Uncharted really carries the vibes of just your typical action movie, like your Indiana Jones.
Right. And I'm not saying that it's like anything better or worse than other games that, are realistic. But it's another game that's a part of the beginning of it all.
Yeah. The graphics look amazing. I mean, of course, we're playing the remastered version of it, but I mean, you can tell, like with The Last of Us, I mean, the graphics are gorgeous. The animations really are what set this apart. One thing that was unique about Nathan Drake, I think, back in 2007 was just how realistic his animations were. How much he would falter a little bit. He'll fall over a little bit. His animations aren't always fluid. He actually, reacts like a human. And this was something that was really unique at the time. This was something that was kind of a standard now at some games, but Uncharted set the precedent for that. And I mean, I want to say this may have even been seen before or around the same time. I mean, you've got Assassin's Creed that had the realistic parkour animations, but I like how Uncharted just gives that characteristic human quality to Nathan Drake, the protagonist.
No, we said that a lot of times in other episodes, how games set the precedents for other games, you know what I mean? And it really gets me thinking, why do we do that? Why do we choose choose games that are like that?
Well, like you said, a lot of these games are just, are the right games to talk about, are the games that, changed gaming. But also, in a sense, we always want to focus on what's unique about each game, whether it's a good game or a bad game or, in between. So I think every video game has something else to offer and something else to bring to the table, regardless of its subjective or objective value.
Now what? Asshole.
Quite a day.
Yeah, save the world, triumph over evil. Pretty typical.
Really?
It's a shame we're leaving empty-handed, though.
Oh, well, I did manage to save one small thing. Here, I thought you might miss this.
Thanks.
Yeah.
You two got a funny idea of romantic.
Sully! Wow, you look like hell.
You should see the other guy. Got us a boat.
We already have a boat.
Yeah, big boat.
I like this one better.
Sully, you beautiful son of a bitch!
Borrowed it off a couple of pirates who were too dead to care.
Sorry you didn't get your story.
That's all right. There'll be other stories. You still owe me one.
I'm good for it.
But I mean, yeah, Uncharted definitely has, you know, that cinematic quality. It feels like an action movie. You've got, like I said, very realistic animations, and Nathan Drake is even a very realistically portrayed character. He's not hyper masculine, you know, and this is actually a praise in a world where, you know, a lot of male video game action heroes are, you know, macho guys, and Nathan Drake, you know, he's your jokester character, you know. He's your character that makes jokes in tense situations, and
Right. Well, he's like a fit character, but he's a little smaller, so it's more like he's a spry, cunning character more than anything.
yeah, and he's a smart guy actually. You can tell he knows his history. And
Yeah, he's smart. He's a badass. I mean, he kills a bunch of people. I mean, throughout all the games, dude.
but at the same time, you know, he's kind of a nervous wreck,
Right.
and he's kind of a he's kind of a mess.
Right. Oh shit. Oh shit. Oh shit. Oh shit.
Yeah,
How many
he's
times
not
he
always
says
sure of
that in the game?
himself,
Yeah.
and you know, kind of that quality I think that came later in the Tomb Raider reboot games.
Right.
You know, is the idea of like constantly falling. Like while he's platforming, he'll you know, miss a step, or he'll
Right.
it'll break on him, and him, you know.
Yeah.
And him
that happens a
reacting
lot.
to the situation. As far as you know, characters go within the story, I mean, you've got Nathan Drake. He's a very lovable protagonist. And we've also got Elena Fisher, his love interest. And you know, while she at first comes off as a character that's as your, you know, typical, she almost seems kind of like a damsel in distress at first, but then you find out, I mean, she's kind of a badass
Oh yeah.
in her own right, and she's able to handle her gun pretty quickly. You've got Sully, Victor Sullivan.
Oh, Victor Sullivan, probably the best character in the entirety of these games.
Yeah, and it's at times underutilized, I think.
I agree.
I mean, he's barely on Uncharted 2, but yeah, Sully is a very lovable character. He's that mentor character for Drake, but in a lot of ways, he's an unreliable mentor. You know, he messes up himself, and you know they're both thieves, so there's really no honor.
Oh yeah.
Except they have, you know, this loving bond between them, and Drake also has kind of a bond going on with Elena throughout the games, you know, and we see this love blossoming and growing, you know.
And that completely entangles by the end of the third one and the fourth one.
Yeah. Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. By the time, you know, they get married and stuff, and yeah, these characters really develop. Now, Nathan Drake believes that he is the descendant of Francis Drake,
Who is another recurring quotes character, at least talked about character in all three games.
yeah, and a real life historical figure, of
Right.
course. And he's particularly prominent in the first game, Drake's Fortune, and later on in Uncharted 3, Drake's Deception.
Right.
Like I said, Nate believes he's the descendant. He took on the name of Drake as a callback to his hero.
Right.
So that, although that is not actually his real surname, which is, I think, later revealed in number 4.
Right.
So I guess we won't spoil that.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, you've got other characters too, like Gabriel Roman, Navarro, and Eddie Rada.
Chloe.
Chloe's not till Uncharted 2.
True.
So I'm mostly talking about Uncharted 1 here. But yeah, you've got your antagonists. I mean, Gabriel Roman seems to be the guy pulling the strings, and at the very end, Navarro is the guy that betrays him. And how did you feel the story went? You know, did you think it succeeded as a good story, if you were to view this as like a movie?
It was a good plot, you know, seemingly a good plot. He, you know, travels across, he follows a lot of clues, travels across the ocean, ends up finding zombies. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. You got Nazis, you got these Germans, you've got,
You've got Nazis, you've got zombies.
You got zombies, yeah. You've got crazy people coming after you. I mean, it's a win-win everywhere you go. Treasure hunting.
Yeah, and just like Tomb Raider, and just like Indiana Jones, which is exactly what this feels like, as an action movie. Like I said, this feels like Indiana Jones, as far as the history component, the archaeology component. Like those stories, it starts off with not all the cards on the table, and then by the end, you usually find out there's some kind of supernatural occurrence near the end of each games. Although I think in some of them they're kind of explained somewhat scientifically. Drake's Fortune actually sets itself up as a story for the search for El Dorado, which is revealed to be not a town but a statue. And then even of itself, there's a twist at the end of the game, where El Dorado is not, what it seems to be, and it's not it actually releases like a plague on people, right?
Yeah, it is. It's a plague that makes people zombies. It's weird.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. This game also sets itself up, as an exposition story. Obviously, you're introduced to these characters, but it's done subtly enough that it's not completely noticeable. I mean, the exposition is done well. I think you get introduced to these characters really well as through their dialogue, and through the connections that they make with each other. You've even got characters like Eddie who comes in who, I mean, you hate this guy, but by the end of the story, like you're fighting alongside him.
Yeah, you fight to survive with each other because there's like a horde of zombies around you too. Yeah.
Most of the game you play as Nate. I think there are a couple of parts where you play as Elena, and there's even like the vehicle segments where you may play as one or the other, and it switches a little bit. But yeah, most of the story is told through Nate's perspective. Right. And like we said, he's a good protagonist character and very relatable, which was something new. And that's kind of interesting because this game presents itself both as, very action hero and even kind of making some of the same movie logic flaws. But at the same time, there's a realism component. And then that's a good tie-in to The Last of Us, as well as the linear nature of the gameplay. And like I said, this is one of those few linear games that really proves that not all games have to be open world.
Right. To be good. Exactly. No, it does a really good job of that because I thought God of War, for instance, didn't do a good job of that. Personally.
Yeah, I played a little bit of that. The new one I've heard is really good. It's actually a more open world.
I believe that. So and I'm excited to see where that goes, but that's another thing we can do later down the road.
Yeah, well, that's an episode this season, actually, the new God of War. So, but yeah, Uncharted is, I think the first game sometimes doesn't shine as bright as maybe later on in the series, like Uncharted 2. But it does set the precedent for the series, and it does set itself apart from other action-adventure games, and it's really fun. You can definitely see where the series needs to go in the future, where things can be improved. But the combat is fluid. The story is engaging. Level after level after level, you continue to play, and you can play for hours and be involved and invested in. The next game, Uncharted 2 Among Thieves, improves a lot of things over its predecessor. What are some of those improvements in terms of gameplay?
There was in the first game you had a combo system. It was really weird. You can only use one combo. It was square, triangle, square. But by the second game they fixed the combat a little bit. So I would say combat was improved. That was a good one. There was a lot of good improvements. There was a lot more moments where you actually do use puzzles, and there's a lot of more puzzles than there are. A lot more parkour moments. But of course, you still got your usual scenes where you're shooting up everybody, running away from everybody. That's gonna happen because you can't have an Uncharted game without that. Yeah, it's what sets it apart again.
Yeah, definitely. One criticism I think of the first game for me is there weren't enough puzzles. There weren't enough of, and you have the notebook that you carry with you, the journal, which helps you with certain puzzles, and that really became underutilized. It was underutilized in the first game. I think the second game made better use and had more puzzles, which is kind of my favorite part.
By the third and fourth game, they really fixed that. Yeah. I think by the fourth. I haven't played it in a while, but we just played the third, and that one you can pretty much pull it out in a room when you're ready to use it. You know, you can pull it out before it even prompts it on screen.
Yeah, that's true. The third really improved on that. Like you said, there's a lot of combat improvements. There's a lot of things that make combat more fluid, and there's more things you can do now. I think the riot shield is new in 2, right?
Yeah, that one comes in the second one. They upgraded it a little bit differently by the third one. In the second one, you can only hold 2 weapons in the game, and what you do is you hold the shield and you hold your 2 weapons, but you can only use your pistol weapon when you're holding the riot shield. When you can drop the riot shield, or it'll eventually break, and you'll still have both your weapons. But by the third game, it takes over the second slot where your heavy weapon would be.
Yeah.
So it's a weird change there, because it's like, is it worth grabbing it now?
Yeah, I mean, that's true. There's definitely more of a decision-making process. But a lot of people feel that Uncharted 2 is the best out of the series, or at least the best out of this trilogy, which is interesting because you would think, 3 may have the most, improvements over time. But 2, I think it's considered the best for a lot of people because of how much it improved over the first one.
Right. The chapters flowed very well by the second one. Really good story as well.
Yeah, the story improves a lot in Uncharted 2 over the first one. I mean, in particular, I like the way that it's set up. The storytelling itself is just better quality, I think. You can just kind of tell the way that the story flows and then the dialogue. But like I said, in particular, I like the way the story's set up. I like the frame narrative with Nate, kind of that flash forward segment where you see him start in the snow area, and then the story kind of switches back and forth a little bit between that at first, and then finally catches up.
It eventually progresses to the point where and when it catches up to the point in which you started. And that's a really cool part, because you start off knowing what's going to happen later.
Yeah.
And so you're going throughout the whole game with the item that because you get that what is that key, and you see that key in the snow in the beginning, but knowing that item is going to lead you to peril. Later in the game. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, that is really cool. And I like the sequence in the beginning where they go and they try to steal that dagger.
Oh yeah, that was cool with Flynn.
Yeah, Harry Flynn, and then the betrayal. It was just a really, really even more engaging story than the first one. Whereas the first one kind of, in some ways, may have been just a little bit generic. The second one really fleshes itself out better. And the second one revolves around searching for another fabled, real-life historical location or thing. There's just Shambhala.
Right, Shambhala, yeah.
The search for Shambhala.
The Lost City of Gold.
That's El Dorado, was the Lost City of Gold.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Shambhala is just...
that's right, you are right.
I don't know what other...
it's always like cities and stuff. The third one's the same way.
Yeah. I don't know what other names it goes by, but or what is the literary term for that? There's a literary term for a repeated phrase or something. I don't know. When we went over Beowulf, we talked about it. I can't remember. Anyway, so yeah, the setting mainly in like Nepal, and then the beginning in Istanbul, and whereas the first one kind of was on that one island. I don't know. It wasn't made clear. There's some new characters, like you mentioned before, Chloe Fraser, who shows up as the protagonist in Lost Legacy.
Yeah, and also continues to be in a 3, and I believe no, not 4. I think she's just in 3.
Chloe's a really interesting character. That's like Drake's
his side hoe.
His old flame.
It's his side hoe.
His side hoe. Well, he and Elena have since, despite looking like they were settling into a relationship and hinting at that, they seem to have been there, done that, separated, and he kind of reignites this old spark with Chloe, who at some points in the game you really can't trust because you think that she's going to double cross him,
and when she does, but then she always comes back somehow.
Yeah, and then Elena kind of enters the story again in the beginning towards the entering kind of into the second act.
Right.
And that kind of resparks, and Chloe kind of picks up on that and realizes later that Drake, I think, she realizes that Nate really loves Elena, but she's hot.
Oh yeah, but she ends up saying later, go get your girl.
Yeah, I think that Chloe is a little bit more attractive than Elena, but it's just a personal preference. I mean, just because she goes for it, dude. She's like, and she gets on top of him and stuff, and you're like, ooh. That ass though. I'm just saying. Okay.
But no, I know the girl who plays Elena.
Yeah.
Who does the voice acting for her? I think, what is it, Emily Rose? Her name, something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I'm
well,
not
I know
sure.
her from Haven. It's a really good TV show that
Oh.
Mom and I used to watch. But
And Drake himself, Nathan Drake himself, is voiced by the ever-present Nolan North.
exactly, Nolan North,
You know,
just
kind
about
of-
as prevalent as Troy Baker.
basically, yeah. Before Troy Baker, I think Nolan North was kind of the prominent one. Now
Mhm.
it's kind of settled into Baker, but they're both. You both see them all the time.
What's going on? That's my blood. That's my blood. That's a lot of my blood. No!
Buy me a drink, sailor.
Harry Flynn? Hey! What the hell are you doing here?
I'm looking for you, mate.
Uh-oh. Should I be flattered or worried?
Maybe a bit of both. Come here. I've got a job for us.
Really?
A client is willing to part with a huge sum of cash if we acquire a certain object for him.
All right, I'm listening.
Now, you're not gonna like this.
Oh, no. No, you're out of your mind.
Yeah, you just hear me out for a second.
Flynn, we both know two people who were killed trying to lift something out of this
And
place.
one who made it out.
Yeah, barely.
I can't do this without you, Drake. You're the only one who's cracked it, and you know better than anyone it's a two-person job.
No. 3, actually.
Right. And speak of the devil, here she comes now.
What?
Chloe Fraser.
Nate. Drake. Nathan. Drake.
Hello, Harry.
Chloe here's one of the best drivers in the business. She'll take good care of us.
I bet.
Right, look. I've got it all figured out. We go in through the sewer.
Loving it so far.
That puts us in the courtyard. From there, we scale up the wall, run across the rooftops, and just drop down into the exhibit hall. Bob's your uncle. And what is worth all this trouble, I hear you ask?
I didn't, but go ahead. But that's it. An oil lamp.
Yeah.
It's worthless. I don't get it.
Neither do we. That's
why we tracked you down.
Well, it sounds like you're working for a nutcase. Some collector who's got too much time and money on his hands. And by the way, this is not worth any of it.
But there's more. How's your 13th century Latin, mate?
Where'd you get this?
Borrowed it from the files of the nutcase.
In Trebizond, we were set upon by thieves. Father, Maffeo, and I were robbed of our greatest treasures. This was written by Marco Polo.
Yes, that much we were able to work out.
Unfortunately, the rest of it's nonsense.
Hey, hold on. So that it should not fall into the wrong hands, I concealed my great sorrow in the unlikeliest place. The light of the great Khan shelters the fate of the 13.
See what I mean? It's just gibberish.
He's talking about the lost fleet.
Yeah.
I know, someone want to fill me in?
Marco Polo leaves China with 600 passengers and 14 ships loaded down with treasure from Kublai Khan. Now he lands in Persia a year and a half later with only 1 ship left and only 18 passengers. Now he recorded every detail of his journey, but he never told what happened to all those ships and the passengers.
So somewhere out there are 13 ships loaded with the Emperor's treasure waiting to be found.
Yeah, and that is what your client is after. Hey, look at this lamp. It's covered in Mongolian script. It must have been a gift from Kublai Khan.
The light of the great Khan shelters the fate of the 13.
Marco Polo hid something inside this lamp. Something that pinpoints the site of the lost fleet.
So, we're dicking this guy over, right?
Damn straight.
Absolutely. You in then?
What the hell? I mean, what could possibly go wrong?
And then you've got Harry Flynn, your character who ends up betraying you. You think Chloe betrays you several times, but she's with him the whole time. But Flynn, he's the other character just like Eddie, who you end up fighting side by side in the end, even though like you hate each other. That's a really fun part of the game where he's following Nate and he's got the gun pointed at, and you can't try. I think I even tried to punch him.
I did too, and he actually if you try to throw things at him, he'll like almost kill you and be like, "Hey, you shouldn't have done that."
That's actually a really cool part where he's got the gun pointed, and they do have to kind of work together. They're forced to. You've got Lazarevich, Zoran Lazarevich, who's the main villain.
Ends up being your main antagonist.
He's your like Eastern European. Is he Russian?
Something along those lines.
Ukrainian or
something.
Yeah. He's an interesting character. He's like the main villain, and he's the final boss in the game too. You've also got Karl Schaefer, the former Nazi who turned on his comrades and now lives peacefully in Nepal as kind of a hermit. And Marco Polo kind of fills the role of Francis Drake, as the character who's left behind their journal, whose footsteps you're following in.
Yeah.
So Uncharted 2 Among Thieves really improves on the predecessor in both terms of gameplay and story, I think. It improves on it so much that it's often considered the best out of the three based on, the story, for instance, I think is just considered the superior story. And then the gameplay just based on
pure
how much improvement.
Improvement, yeah, exactly.
And also just preferences. So I really enjoyed it, and I have to say 2 and 3 for me are really close. We haven't played all the way through 3, so I have to find out. But 2 really kicked it off well. It started on a good note, maintained it throughout the game, ended really well. I like how you basically you get to Shambhala and you think you're near the end of the game, and you've still got several chapters.
Oh yeah. multiple chapters
in
before you finally
Shambhala, and
finish.
that's pretty cool. Almost taking up kind of like an act of its own. Finally, we have Uncharted 3: Drake's Deception. And this is the game that we're actually still playing right now. Walk me through a little bit as compared to the first two. You know, what's new in Drake's Deception as far as gameplay goes?
Yeah, again, we got improved combat yet again. It's a lot better, a lot more. Pretty much any fighting though, it prompts you on screen when you need to press a button because and it's cool how it does that, but it's usually only when like you need to block. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's pretty much about it. You can do a lot of things. There's a lot of objects that you can use just lying around. You can use your your surroundings as attacks and moves. If there's an empty bottle next to you when you're like using your circle to hold a guy and you throw him against it, you can grab an item and hit him with it. There are points in the game where there's scripted moments where you jump off of ledges and you hit people. You basically air assassinate them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a lot of that. You take their weapons. There's cool quick time events. They put that to work, and there's a lot more puzzles yet again. They continue with the puzzles. It's really challenging. This third game, we were just doing a puzzle earlier that we just couldn't figure out.
Yeah,
we didn't know what we were doing for a second there.
Uncharted 3 really, a lot of the improvements that are made in 3, I think were kind of necessary improvements and really augment the system. And I got to say, I see why people would say that Uncharted 2 makes a lot more improvements over the first, and that's why it's considered like a better developed game. But Uncharted 3, I think, may actually still be my favorite because it is the most improved games, and some of the improvements, are really do make the experience better. And not only that, but whenever you've got Uncharted 2, which basically hit the peak of what was technologically available at the time and what would be expected in a game like this, how much was there to improve on?
Right.
And that kind of happened with, like, for instance, from Skate 1 to Skate 2 and then Skate 2 to Skate 3.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
It's
the
the
third
same
one
thing.
didn't have as much to that it could improve. And so they tried to add a bunch of, new tricks and stuff, or in the case of Uncharted,
Well, in Uncharted 3, they tried doing that with a few things like weapons. They add a lot of different new weapons in the game that you were not previously into too. And then the second one does that as well. The amount of weapons that the second one has and the weapon selection is really good too. It has a really good one. You've got your sniper, you've got your crossbow at the end, which is really cool because that thing's overpowered as shit. You get your grenade launchers, which are cool. You got your shotguns. Shotguns are a necessity. I can honestly play a game with a pistol and a shotgun. That's all I need.
I mean, for us, we're kind of shotgun stands.
We
I mean,
are shotgun
We almost
stands,
always go for the shotgun. And we noticed in all three of the Uncharted games, the shotguns are kind of sparsely distributed.
Right.
But in any level, you should find the shotgun. A lot of times, the level will push a certain weapon. Like, you'll see a lot of AKs.
A lot of AKs, and it wants you to use it.
We always had more an easier time with the shotgun. I mean,
right. And
shotgun
there's some
all day.
points where and there's some points where like I wouldn't want a close range, and so I'd switch to an AK real quick and just shoot from far away and use the whole mag. But then I'd just grab my shotgun again.
And it feels like an action movie. It feels like Drake is, quickly picking up a weapon, drop it, like Indiana Jones style, and just getting those pistol shots, headshotting, getting those shotgun shots from up front, even no scoping it.
Oh yeah, it's so
really,
great.
Is really satisfying. And then obviously everyone's favorite weapon's the snipers.
Those are the best weapons in the game. They're always an insta kill.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I say that, but there are some enemies that do not. Well, headshots are always instant kill, put it that way.
Yeah, and there's the RPGs and the Tommy
RPGs.
gun.
There's the bazooka hand cannon. What was that called? I can't
Pistole.
remember. The pistole. Thank you.
It's kind of like a pistol shotgun. That was a really useful weapon because it allows you to have a shotgun, basically shotgun, power weapon as your primary, as your
pistol,
handheld.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in this game you do have these games you do have the primary and the secondary weapon. That's how they separate it. You
I
have
think
it
it's
anytime.
light versus heavy.
Light versus heavy, or
well.
one-handed versus two-handed, however you want to call it. And you hold those two at a time, and you can collect more, or you can pick up a new weapon to replace it, but you only hold the two.
Right.
And throughout the progression of the story, oftentimes, Nate is stripped of his guns by the enemy or whatever. So you end up, going back to, I like the parts of the game where it really shines, and Uncharted 3 really does this well too. Just like the combat sections where it's like free flow combat that kind of almost feels like, where Batman Arkham games went. and you do these sections of the game without the weapon, and then have to gain a weapon.
Right.
Uncharted 2 and 3 also, that's another big improvement. 2 was, and then continued to be updated in 3, was stealth, giving you a lot more stealth options. Stealth was not as prevalent in the first one.
In the third one, the first scene, you were using suppressed pistols.
Yeah.
And in that point, there's actually, you want to switch to a different weapon, and the guys tell you, like, hey, don't switch. Like, use your suppressed pistol because we need to get through this section. So it actually won't let you technically switch.
The enemies drop guns that you can't even pick up.
Yeah, they do. But no, that was a cool thing to do because they showed us that they were going in the direction of, more stealth, more, you should be able to kill all the guys stealthily, and you can.
Right. You
just got to be careful about it.
And as far as stealth goes, like, you can come behind enemies and just knock them out real quick with the melee button.
Right.
But Uncharted 3 even adds the ability to Uncharted 2 adds the ability to do it from cover, to stealth enemies from cover, not just from behind. And also Uncharted 3 allows you to drop from atop, kind of like your hidden blade air assassination in Assassin's Creed.
It's only used a couple of times because they don't really give you many opportunities to do that one, unfortunately.
Yeah. Also, like Assassin's Creed, the ledge takedowns.
Yeah.
That's a lot of fun. So yeah, stealth was really expanded upon. Now Uncharted 3 takes the series, takes the story in a different direction. Of course, it kind of does exist. Can you see what I mean when I say, like, if you envision the series as a trilogy, it definitely does serve as a finale, and it could have been the ending point of the series.
All right, it could have, but it was interesting to see where they went with 4. Like, and I said, we're not going to really talk about that one, but when we do, there's more to tell. There is.
Oops.
Crap.
Oh, damn it.
Come here. Typical bloody Yank. All talk. Hey. He's had enough, haven't you, mate? Don't.
Stay down.
Hello, Victor.
Kate?
Still wallowing in the gutter with your protege, I see. Not very dignified for a man of your age.
Should have known you'd be behind this. Oh, careful now. Wouldn't want you to melt.
Same cocky little shit. So fearless. I wonder what you're really afraid of. Not bullets or blood or broken bones. No. You get off on all this, don't you? Cheating death. Or not.
No.
Mr. Sullivan, I won't harm your precious boy. I merely want what's mine.
Give me that back.
Cutter!
Oh, no. Oh.
Shut up!
You fool!
Oh, you're bloody welcome, Your Majesty.
Marlowe, we have to get you out of here.
Oh, come on. They're a right pair of arseholes. What? They're gone. All right, lads?
Oh, God. Bet you were gonna put a silencer on that thing.
Sully, you got no sense of drama.
Right. All right. All that racket's gonna bring the cops any minute. Let's get the hell out of here.
Could have pulled a couple of those punches, Charlie.
What do you mean? I hardly touched you.
You headbutted me.
All right. I got a little swept up in the moment. You were the one who said make it look realistic.
Better stay on his good side.
All right, Broados, look sharp. They're coming your way. Don't lose them.
Told you they'd take the bait.
How long do you reckon before they realize this is a fake?
Who cares? Finally flushed them out.
Now we just falling back to their hole.
You do realize you make everything sound dirty.
I do?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I definitely see what you mean there. Now, yeah, in terms of story, I mean, it kind of does serve as a finishing off point, at least for the trilogy, but definitely leaves the story open for more. Now, I do like one sequence in particular is the flashback sequence with young Nate. That was really interesting.
That was really cool. It was an interesting season because interesting part because you also see a young Victor Sullivan as well.
Yeah,
younger anyway.
Younger, and that really. Actually, with Sully kind of being mostly missing from 2, I really like the emphasis on Sully and Nate's relationship in this game.
Yeah, I was going to say that. They really built upon the relationship between the two and how they came to be now, you know? Because they start off actually in the beginning, the first scene of the third one is they get shot. And you're like, what the hell? They're dead? What the fuck? They're dead? What's going on? And then they replay the scene and you do it and you go through it yourself and that's what, what ends up happening. And you're fine. It's all fake. But the point of the matter is that they build it up this relationship, and they do a really good job of that with the flashbacks, I think.
Yeah, no, I agree.
It was also a really good way to introduce the antagonist of this game as well.
Yeah, the antagonist Marlowe shows up as kind of this old flame of Sully, and you see the defining moment where Sully and Drake meet, and where they take off, and you kind of see this father-son relationship.
Right, yeah, it does
you
feel
realize
like that.
How close they are, and you realize why Nate had so much faith in Sully in the first game, when we thought that Sully might have betrayed Nate after, because in the beginning it shows in the very first game it seems like he dies, and then it looks like he's alive, but then it looks like he's helping the enemy, and it's like, well, they're just forcing him to, and then there's a part where it seems like they're not forcing, and even Nate at that point begins to question, but for the longest time, like, he had complete faith in Sullivan.
Absolutely. And the third one, they build upon that some more with the main antagonist actually questioning it herself and telling Drake, why are you trusting this guy?
Trying to plant the seeds of doubt.
Trying to plant the seeds of doubt. But they started off with with the flashback scene in the second one. So or was it the third one? The third one.
Yeah.
And so they really did bring that in. And they did a good job. They did. It's interesting because it's just interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was. And I also liked seeing, like, Drake younger and seeing, like, kind of what Nate was like at that age versus, what he was like as an adult. That was a fun, like, platforming sequence. Chloe Fraser returns. Elena Fisher returns. Eleanor kind of doesn't show up till midway through. I mean, we just started encountering her in our playthrough.
Oh, yeah.
And she's already been married to Drake, and they're kind of estranged. So again, kind of the same premises too. They kind of repeated history there. There was definitely some more involvement between them that happened off screen, and then it ended. But by the end of the story, of course, they end up back together.
Right, and in the fourth one, they end up being together. So
yeah. So I mean, that was a really good development of the relationship. Chloe returns. A new character, Charles Cutter, who goes kind of up and down, kind of has that double agent thing going on, and possibly, and
yeah, well, he's the one who kills you in the beginning, or quote kills you guys,
right?
But he ends up being all a fake stage, and he ends up being part of the team, and he helps a lot. Like, he's pretty smart, and he figures shit out too.
And there's a lot of twists with that character,
Lots.
And like where it seems like he's one thing, but he's not. Yeah. I mean, he is that like funny character that's on screen. That really kind of steals the show when he's there. And I'm telling you, he's Jason Statham.
I think I see what you mean. It makes sense. I think he's a little older than Jason Statham, especially when he was at that age, at that time the game came out. But I see what you mean.
I mean, the looks, the voice, he has to be. Like, if anybody ever plays him, and Tom Holland is going to play Nathan Drake, a younger version of Nathan Drake. I guess kind of between those teen years as we see in the beginning of Uncharted 3 and the adult.
Yeah, he's going to play it in the movie that's coming out.
The movie that's coming
really
out,
exciting.
Which is set in the same universe as the games. Kind of like Assassin's Creed, where the movie is an additional story in the universe rather than being a specific adaptation, which I enjoy.
Right.
So I'm really excited about that movie. A lot of people wanted Nathan Fillion for the role, and I think Nathan Fillion wanted to be Nathan Drake, but he would be more of like an older, like Uncharted 4 Nathan Drake.
Right, I think so too. I think if we do Nathan Drake, we need to go with, like, it's a good idea to start with him being a young character.
Yeah.
You know, because then you can get that backstory first, get it over with, and then we can make if it succeeds, you know, we can make future movies.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Definitely. Yeah. So that's something that's really exciting that's coming up. It's only recently been announced. Tom Holland was announced as Nathan Drake. So he's a talented actor. So, and I like the direction they're going. Like I said, if you do young Nate, it can take place in the same universe, and I'm willing to bet that's part of why they're doing it.
Yeah.
So Uncharted is also continued past Uncharted 3 into Uncharted 4. Now, we're not going to talk too much about this one because I haven't played it, and it's not part of this collection. We're not focusing on it this episode. But what separates Uncharted 4 for you, though? Like, basically, without spoiling anything, you know, how does it compare to the other games, especially being the first PlayStation 4 title?
It's been a little bit since I played it. And I've recently been playing 1, 2, and 3, so it's like it's hard to refresh my memory on that one. But I do know, I remember there was the multiplayer aspect that was added, and I never personally tried that out. I have it, and I was able to do it, but I never ended up doing it. But there was the multiplayer aspect. It got a good story. It starts off, you know, you're in this cabin on a beach, and with Elena, you know what I mean, and you've had a kid. So it's like it's interesting.
That's cool. Yeah, Uncharted 4 kind of takes place later on, so it's a few years afterward, and Drake is older. I know, and the game's graphics are just mind blowing. And it really, from what I've seen so far, it takes the game to the next level, to the next generation of gaming.
Absolutely.
After that was the Uncharted: The Lost Legacy, which I think is technically a standalone DLC. For Uncharted 4, but it's another game. Being that Uncharted 4 is the end of Nathan Drake's storyline, and that's their like tagline with the game. That's what they were leading with.
A thief's end.
Yeah, exactly. The Lost Legacy focuses on Chloe Frazier and I think the character named Nadine or something.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it's two female heroines kind of together.
Two of them,
Huh?
I didn't realize it was 2 girls.
Yeah, it's cool. Really cool. I'd love to check that one out and see more about it, and definitely play Uncharted 4. So Uncharted has managed to keep itself, you know, relevant since. Obviously, people are still looking forward to another Uncharted title. I mean, I think, you know, we're done with Nathan Drake's story, but I think there's additional stories to tell with other characters set in that universe, or they could go kind of back in time if they want to and tell a little bit of the in-between.
Yeah, it's not too bad of an idea. I mean, I think they've had enough crazy lifetime stories for Nathan Drake. I mean, he's already gone to 3 places in the world that no one else ever found. So, I mean,
that's
you can only do that so much. Yeah.
I mean, he is almost superhuman.
But they could continue with his daughter.
Yeah, that was one thing that that was teased. I don't know if that spoils 4, but I don't think that's that. But yeah, they could continue to tell the story of Cassie, and I think it's Cassie Drake, and yeah, that would be really interesting as well. Especially if, you know, after a few years we can see an older version of her. So Uncharted is still a very relevant game today. I mean, even though, like you said, the first game was in 2007?
07, yeah.
07, yeah. These games are still talked about. People can still, you know, remember and reference them. When we talked about doing this podcast, you know, among our peers, people were familiar with the Uncharted series. I know Bo and Robert were familiar with it.
Right. Most people have at least heard of it.
Yeah.
Sorry, chewing eyes.
Right, Bo, you...
Oh, yeah, I've been kind of aware of the Uncharted series, you know. I mean, I guess it's okay. I mean, I never really played it, you know. I mean...
I played it on PSP.
Yeah. Something like that. Something like that.
But yeah, I mean, Uncharted, you know, where do you think this series could go in the future?
Are you asking me or are you talking about Bo?
I'm asking you. You're my co-host.
Do I have to be?
Yes.
Sad day.
Damn it.
I mean, what do you think? What would you where would you predict the series goes?
I don't see them picking Nathan Drake up again.
Right.
I don't see that happening. It was a good idea with the DLC going into Chloe, a little bit because she was in almost all the games.
Yeah.
I would like to see an Elena story, maybe. How she became a kind of a badass reporter. She had to have some kind of breakthrough report. Some kind of story that she did. I don't know. It'd be cool to see some of that.
That would be interesting. Or maybe Sully.
Sully,
like
that
a,
was
like
the
a
one I was gonna
prequel,
say.
That shows, him kind of as in his younger days. That would be really
or
interesting.
maybe him training Nathan.
Oh yeah. I wonder how that will translate in the Uncharted movie.
Yeah, I do too. That's interesting.
Who's gonna play Sully? That'd be really interesting.
They
to
should
see.
stick with that voice actor because it's perfect.
Perfect,
Or
right.
at least better sound like that because that is like quality Sullivan.
Victor Goddamn Sullivan.
Victor Goddamn Sullivan.
Yeah.
That's how Flynn says it. It's funny.
Yeah, I mean, you really get attached to these characters in the series, and you remember it fondly. I remember for me, just the whole gameplay, the whole flow of the game, and the linearity of the game that actually makes it more attractive, sticks out to me in my mind. One side point that I'd like to make is that despite the fact that Drake is depicted as such a realistic character so well, he is a parkour god.
Absolute god. More than just that. I mean, he literally comes through an area and kills every single guy and comes out alive. And he there's no remorse. I mean, if someone's shooting at him, he kills them. And you have to kill them until some things, you can get to the next area. So it's not like you can pick and choose who you kill. You have to kill them all.
You have to kill them all.
So Nathan Drake is a badass who somehow learned parkour down the road. He's a genius motherfucker. He's also clumsy, but somehow still manages to get away. Just a badass motherfucker. I mean, it's a really interesting character they've built here.
Yeah, just a badass motherfucker. Yeah, he does retain some of those action hero vibes, I guess, in some ways, which is interesting, but without being, like hyper masculinized. So it's a fun character. I don't think we can emphasize that enough. Closing thoughts on Uncharted?
I would definitely another one I would recommend. If you want to play a game that's like a movie, here you go. You want a storyline that's fun to follow, and it's very action driven and full of lots of excitement, love, romance, kind of like The Princess Bride, where the grandfather talks to his grandson. You know what I mean? What?
I can't keep a straight face because right when we hit record again, Bo said, "Here she comes."
Oh my god!
So that's on
Here she
the
comes.
podcast. I don't know why he's saying it.
Here she comes.
We've had to continue recording and unrecording. We've had to pause and stuff because I'm having some system issue where it's overloading the RAM. So technical difficulties. I hope the podcast doesn't come out choppy as a result. But I tried to work around it. Anyway, so during these off periods, Bo's keeps saying, "Here she comes," and I don't know why he's saying it. I don't understand the context.
You are going to find out. You will.
I guess I'll find out after the show. But fuck. Anyway,
we need to
ahead,
close this
Dakota.
podcast. We need to end this now. Ash, any closing thoughts?
my closing thoughts. This movie again has that cinematic quality, like we've said so many times. It feels like a movie. So cinephiles would enjoy this game, even people that aren't necessarily gamers. Some of our Collateral Cinema listeners who tune into Collateral Gaming, but aren't gamers themselves. I don't know. Maybe you exist. Maybe there's some subset in our audience. Yeah, Uncharted has that feel that really makes it feel like a movie. So it should appeal to a wide audience, and it's a great entry into the world of gaming.
It has the feel that really makes the feel.
Yeah.
That's what you said. That's just right. No, you're right, though. It does.
Motherfucker, I'm high as fuck, okay? Excuse me.
Bo, get your shenanigans out of our podcast.
Shenanigans out.
I see you giggling over there.
Here she comes.
Well, let's go ahead and wrap this up. Collateral Gaming Season 2. Are you excited about the upcoming season, Dakota?
Well, I mean, we're starting it, so
Yep.
I mean,
I'm excited about several of the games coming up. And speaking of which, what are we doing next, Dakota?
next we are doing Your Mom. We will be following up soon with PT, mini episode we're going to be doing. But after that, we'll be doing our second episode, Red Dead Redemption
2.
That's right, the second one. That's
Yeah.
right, because we don't even have the first one.
Red Dead Redemption 2. Yeah, that's our next numbered episode, per se. Stay tuned for that in a couple weeks. And then PT, which we're going to release on Halloween. That's going to be kind of our Halloween special, and it's another indie game review with special guest Bo Maddox.
Oh, yeah. I can't wait.
I mean, Bo's here all the time anyway, but kind of like how we had Robert as a special guest on Spider-Man. I mean, we'll actually bring them in to like talk about the game, so it'll be fun.
Great. More of his shenanigans.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
I'm looking forward to it as well.
Your
That's gonna be kind
tomfoolery.
That'll be like our Halloween special, and then Red Dead Redemption 2 should be publishing mid-November. So. Stay tuned for that. Did I say 2 weeks earlier? I meant a month. We're a monthly podcast, not bi-weekly.
I don't know. Stop making promises. No false promises.
Yeah, I mean, it comes out
get
when it comes
lazy.
out. That's
Yeah.
true. Life happens. But we're
Life
gonna try to stick to a schedule because several of these coincide with like holidays. Anyway, Collateral Gaming is on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify. We are on the whole gamut. YouTube, where we're expanding our video podcast very soon and introducing some Let's Play commentaries for Patreon subscribers. On that note, you can find us on Patreon as well. And that's where you can access exclusive Let's Play commentaries. We're going to release some more of those very soon. We don't actually have any at the moment. We just have the free Fable one. That's kind of a preview of what you'll get. Although we're going to get better with it in terms of quality editing. I'm going off on tangents here, but definitely check out our Patreon content once we, get that up and running. And then you can also find us on all social medias, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, the whole gamut. Dakota and I both have personal accounts. You can find those as well. I'm not going to put it all out there. Y'all can find it. C Gaming Podcast on Twitter. So go ahead and follow us there. Leave us feedback on Apple Podcasts or whatever podcast app that you're using. We're also on the Chill Lover Radio app, and we're happy to be part of the Chill Lover Radio network, as always. And formerly Podbean, or Podcoin. we use Podbean still. Podcoin, R.I.P. Podcoin.
Yeah, rest in peace, Podcoin.
It was a great... Yeah, it was a good ride. So, R.I.P. Podcoin. I think that's it. I don't think we have anything else to say. Stay tuned for the next episode. And that being said, I'm Ashley Chancellor.
I'm Dakota Chancellor.
We are Collateral Gaming, and we are out.
Keep your meat ice cold, kids.
Welcome to Collateral Gaming Extras, the part of the podcast where we kick names and take ass. Dakota, what do you think? Oh, Dakota's not fucking here because he's a noob. Yeah, okay, so this Collateral Gaming Extras episode, I'm monologuing. I'm going to try to be entertaining. Right now, I'm just driving to work. I just fucking finished the episode, besides slapping this in part on. Yeah. I mean, I just finished, like, editing everything down on Uncharted, so that's good. It's way after the fact that, you know, when I wanted to post the damn thing, but, you know, extenuating circumstances, new job, also got fucking school going on, and then I locked myself out of my car. Like, shit. Like, that fucking sucked. And my car was left overnight at my job with my laptop and phone inside. Yeah, it sucked. I had my wife come rescue me, take me home, and then early in the morning we went back after taking our daughter to the doctor, which is right by the workplace, the new workplace, and yeah, I called roadside assistance, got that taken care of. You know, that's the 4th time in a month that I've been locked out of my car. No joke. I've called road assistance 3 out of those 4 times. I mean, thank God I've got insurance, and thank God roadside comes with it. But I don't know how many times I can do this. Something is fucking wrong with me. Yeah, I mean, I've had to call roadside assistance 3 times. I mean, they'll see that on my insurance. I don't know. I'm fucked. Oh well. As long as the podcast goes on, that's what's important, right, guys? So, we just finished Uncharted. That was fun. I'm looking forward to Collateral Gaming Season 2, including our Halloween episode on PT. That's going to be fun. We're also going to pre-record our Thanksgiving episode on Town of Salem. So, Dakota's friend Brandon from Virginia is in town right now. And, we're going to have him on that episode. It's going to be another indie episode like our PT episode. So those are kind of indie episodes. Then our next numbered episode, like we said, is going to be Red Dead Redemption 2. So I've been playing a lot of Red Dead Redemption 2. It's fucking awesome. I've really enjoyed the game. I don't want to get into it too much here. I mean, I want to say maybe not everybody will love it if they can't handle... the pacing is really slow, but you just got to embrace it. Maybe we'll talk about it more on the podcast, but it's one of those things that it's kind of revolutionized the way that I think about, you know, creating games as an aspiring game developer, right? So, yeah, anyway, I don't want to get into it too much here, but... So, yeah, lately, games I'm playing, really just the games that we're doing for the podcast, so I've been playing a lot of Uncharted, obviously. We got almost all of the way through. We beat 1 and 2, and we got maybe most of the way through 3 before recording. We may want to go ahead and finish that just so I have some clips for the video version when I finally get caught up and do the video version. Fuck. Way behind on the video podcast, but that's okay. It is what it is. Life gets in the way. So as long as I get this audio episode out this week, I'm still on schedule, I guess. Hopefully we'll have it out tonight. As I'm saying this, it's Thursday. Well, the episode's done, so I'm just going to slap this on, bounce it, upload it to Podbean tonight, and then fucking finish my homework, I guess. Shit. And then I got a fucking midterm tomorrow. Started a new job. I love it. I can't discuss who I work for. It's actually confidential. I'm supposed to keep that quiet. But I'm doing tech support now for a particular company. I'm helping people support their consumer technology, I'll put it that way. And I'm really enjoying it, although, I mean, it's a lot of hours. I'm working, well, an actual 40 hours a week. And in the past, I mean, I've had jobs that, you know, entry-level jobs that just won't give you exactly 40. It was always like 30-something. So that's kind of new, getting a full new. I mean, it's not a big deal. I don't mind to work. I work 4 10-hour shifts, and then I get 3 days off. That's great, actually. I like that schedule. But, I don't know. really didn't even feel like coming into work today. I'm all stuffed up. See, you can hear that. Fuck. It's supposed to storm today, so maybe I'll just leave early. I feel like that would be better. That would be safer, and then just make up my hours. I don't know. You guys don't care about our personal lives. Fuck that. No, you want to hear about video gaming. You want to hear about the podcast, right? All right. So we've got Death Stranding coming out. We're going to be making that episode. I'm going to be spending a lot of time in Death Stranding. I'm excited about it. That's what Dakota's excited for. Most of all, he's pre-ordered the game already. Maybe he'll take the lead on that one. I don't know. I'll ask him about it. They're supposed to take the lead on this episode, but he decided not to. But I'd like us to kind of go back and forth a little bit. I think that would be cool. But, yeah, fuck, dude. Collateral Cinema, I'm taking the lead next episode when we do The Shining, which is the Collateral Cinema movie podcast Halloween special. That's going to be exciting. If you guys aren't listening to Collateral Cinema, you should, because it's all of the same co-hosts. A lot of you probably listen to Collateral Gaming because you started on Cinema. I imagine there's some portion of the audience that maybe it's the reverse. People that like video games ran into this podcast or came across our Twitter. You should be listening to Collateral Cinema movie podcast, especially if you love movies, even if you don't, because I can't think of anybody that just hates movies. You'll probably find some movie on there that you enjoy, and it's the same co-host plus Bo and Robert. Now, Bo and Robert are on Collateral Gaming kind of as well. We have them kind of in the background. We went ahead and just slapped mics on them so that, like, if they do have anything to say, they can put it. But to be clear, Bo and Robert don't play the games, so I don't consider them official co-hosts. Now, we have exceptions, of course, where we bring them on as special guests. Like, we had Robert on our Spider-Man episode. What's funny is he actually didn't play the entire game, but we let him play around with it a little bit, and he did. He is a huge Spider-Man fan. That was the reason why we put him on, and so he had a lot to say there. Bo, we want to put on our PT episode because Bo is really interested in that. He hasn't played that one either, but he's watched playthroughs. We'll watch a lot of playthroughs in preparation because you can't actually play the game now, or we'll find one of the fan remakes, because there are a few of those. A few fans have decided to remake PT, so maybe we'll try that, because I'd really love to play the game again. Man, I'm so disappointed. You see, and I kept it on my PlayStation just in case. I could never, just because there was a certain point where you couldn't buy it off the store anymore, but if you still had it, you could still play it. Kind of like Flappy Bird, right? But eventually, I think it deleted itself off, and I'm not sure if that's the case for everybody, if everybody's, maybe it was a setting we had turned on or something, because my intention was to never delete that game, because, if we delete it, you can never re-download it, but apparently, yeah, it deleted itself. Maybe somebody, let us know, hit me up on Twitter or something, let me know if you're still able to play PT. I don't know, maybe if you live in the San Antonio area and you have PT on your PS4, you could bring it over. We'll have you on the cast or whatever, and that way we could, hands-on. But, I know the game really well. I've played it over and over and over and over and over again. It's fucking great. It's another game I don't want to get too much into as far as, talking about the game, because I want to save some discussion for the episode. But PT, I love it. I'm so intrigued by the idea of Silent Hills. And not to worry, unlike most of our indie game episodes, I'm billing this under an indie game episode, indie game review, because it's a short game, even though it's not technically indie, but it was kind of positioned that way under the pseudonym of 7780 Studio. Anyway, we'll talk more about it later, but even though it's an indie game review, we are going to go ahead and do spoilers, because you can't play the game anymore, so there's no sense in keeping it spoiler-free so you can go play the game. Yeah, we'll talk about it. So, yeah, full disclosure, obviously, PT is a playable teaser for Silent Hills, which is a canceled project. But whatever was going to become Silent Hills, I think some of it may have ported its way into Death Stranding, which is also going to feature Norman Reedus like Silent Hills was. And although Guillermo del Toro is not involved in the story writing as far as I know, he is motion capturing performance, which is going to be really cool. So we have got Norman Reedus, Mads Mikkelsen, and Guillermo del Toro. So that's going to be really fun for cinema fans. I think Bo will have a lot to say about that on the episode. So yeah, stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for the Collateral Cinema Halloween episode. That's going to be badass. Anything else? Shit. I mean, really excited about the upcoming season. Patreon. I do want to talk about that a little bit. So we're working on our Patreon. We're working on getting those commentaries out, or I should say let's play commentaries for Collateral Gaming. Only issue is just trying to finish actually playing Breath of the Wild. It's a long game, and we've had to put it off and play other games still, for the podcast. So we really haven't had any time to actually play Zelda together, and finish the game. We actually have another Let's Play pretty much done, which is the Zelda CDI episode. And then after that, we're gonna do Spider-Man. We definitely want to do a Let's Play Spider-Man. Originally, we were gonna play The Last of Us. I think we're gonna do a Let's Play in The Last of Us around the time that The Last of Us Part 2 comes out. And then, at some point we may go ahead and talk about Part 2 as an episode, but probably not yet. Probably not right when it comes out. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. I'm definitely very excited about it. And stay tuned for the Patreon content. It's coming. Every first episode of the Let's Play commentaries are going to be free. Just to clarify, before we were going to do movie length episodes, I'm not sure why I wanted to do that, because it's just hard to cut it down. And if you're going to watch 2.5 hours of gameplay, you might as well watch the whole game. Fable took us 7 hours, and I couldn't figure out a way to condense it, and I felt like there were a lot of parts that were important, because we were already cutting out bits already, side questing and stuff. Everything that we recorded was mostly story content, and then what side quest content we did put in there was what we wanted. That Fable Let's Play is out. It's on YouTube. You can go watch it. I think the link is on Patreon, but it's not paid content. It's free. That's the one Let's Play commentary that's completely free. And then the first episode of every Let's Play commentary is going to be free from here on, so you get kind of a little preview of what's going on. The Fable, we were kind of still figuring out how to work with our game capture system and how to edit it all together. So it's not our best work. In fact, I don't even think all the video is like at first we couldn't figure out how to do commentary. We had it separated. We were recording on our phones. You can tell it's not synced up perfectly. I worked on it for hours, let me tell you. So yeah, we were still figuring shit out. It's not completely up to par, but try not to judge it too harshly, because that was just us kind of testing it out. The production value is going to go up, especially with the paid content. If you're paying for it, we're going to have something good for you. We did run into some technical issues on the Zelda episode where we missed some portions of it, and I think we're just going to go replay those portions, because you're paying for this, so we want you definitely to have access to the full game. And it was actually a whole dungeon that we missed, so definitely don't want to lose that. So yeah, stay tuned for that. We're also catching up on all the video podcasts. We're going to do a video version of every regular numbered episode. So that doesn't count the indie movie reviews or bonus episodes, but that does count our regular numbered episodes. Are all going to have video versions eventually. We're working on it. when I say video for right now, it's not like we're recording ourselves with the camera like on the Fable episode, but if you go look at our infamous video episode, it's going to be like that. It's our commentary. It's us talking, not commentary. It's us talking like the podcast, the actual podcast, over like gameplay content and interspersed with clips. More clips than are actually on the audio version. So, but pretty soon here, hopefully this season, we're going to start actually filming ourselves. We meant to do it on the pilot episode and just start this season doing full video, but we decided against it. Well, it just didn't make it happen. We're going to start maybe live streaming, and then we're going to have basically like our video is going to be mostly uncut version of it. So the video and audio are going to be a little bit different in that sense. So anyway, I'm here at work, so I'm going to head in. I mean, I've been talking for 15 minutes, so we're good. Anyways, guys, thanks for listening to Collateral Gaming Extras. Thanks for staying past the credits, and thanks for listening to me monologue. I try to keep it as entertaining as possible. I know I'm not nearly as funny on my own, but yeah, I just wanted to update you guys. We've got a lot of stuff coming up, and yeah, that's all I have to say.
Collateral Gaming is an L Company production. All music and game clips are owned by their respective creators, are used for educational purposes only, and are fair use. Please don't sue us. We're poor.
There's a guy above you. There's a guy above you.
Night, night, sunshine.
There's a guy below you. There's a guy below you.